Hello class, Mr. Guarino here. In this video, I'm going to illustrate how to do some more things with our two basic shapes, the oval and the rectangle. So I'm going to go to Create New and leave it on 1280 by 720, frame rate of 30, HTML5 canvas, and then create. And here's our blank document. I want to go and create some ovals. And I may have mentioned this a little bit in the previous video, but I want to go over this a little bit more now. There's this button over here when you go to create ovals or objects, I should say, or shapes, ovals, rectangles, whatever. If it's gray, light gray around here, then you're going to make it as an object when you create it. If it's dark gray, then it's going to be a shape. And I want to go over the difference between those two and the features around them. I think I mentioned it a little bit in the previous videos, but I didn't want to go too into this stuff while just learning how to create ovals and rectangles. But since now we know how to create both of them, let's go into the features with this difference between a shape and an object. Right, so right now it's the dark gray, so when I draw an oval, and you can see my fill is yellow and my stroke is red. If I go back here to my selection tool and I click on this, you'll see up here it says shape. If I go and create another oval, and this time I click this and make it a light gray around there, which is kind of hard to see. Right? Now it's like got a light gray. Click away. There you go. I guess you can see it. That light gray and dark gray, it's kind of hard to tell the difference. And I click and drag, it looks like the same thing. But when I click on my selection tool and I click this, I get that blue bounding box. That's why I'm creating ovals instead of rectangles, because when you create a rectangle, the bounding box almost looks like the stroke. But here you can obviously see there's a box around there. And so now what's the difference between the two? Before we go into the differences and how that works between the two, I want to note that if you create it and it's a object, which you can see here, drawing object, and you didn't want it to be an object, you wanted it to be a shape, you can click this button while this is selected. This button over here says break apart. When you click it, it changes it to a shape. If you created it as a shape and you wanted it as an object while it's all selected, if you click this button, which says create object, it goes back to an object. So you can go back and forth. So if you create it the wrong way, you can flip it or switch it. Okay, so now this is an object, this is a shape. If I create another one that's a shape, let's go over the shape ones first. I'm sorry, create another object one, a drawing object. Go over those first. You can see that it's still the light gray. And let me just change some colors here. I'll make it like, let's make it blue on the inside and a stroke of, I don't know, this red on the outside. So now if I draw it like this, I have an object, and if I click on it once and drag it over, I can put one on top of the other. I can move it around. Let's do another one. And this time, just so they look different, let's make it have a green on the inside and a stroke of, I don't know, let's go with the black stroke on the outside. And I'll make one like this. And then I'll go back to my selection tool and drag it over. And you can see that like one is obviously on top of the other. Let's say I want the yellow one in the front. If I click on it, I can go up to modify, arrange, and say bring to front or bring forward. If I bring it to the front, it's in front of everything because it's in the front. If I say bring forward, it goes forward to the next, to the object that's on top of it, but not all the objects that are on top of it. So it's kind of like going one step at a time. So bring forward brings it in front of the blue, but not the green. If I say arrange again and I say bring forward, now it's on top of the green. If I want to send it all the way to the back in one shot, I go to arrange and I just say not send backward because that's one step at a time, but send to back, it goes all the way to the back. And course, likewise with this green one, I can say modify, arrange, send backwards. Okay, so that's your um, drawing objects. Now let's go back and create some shapes. So now before I create it, I should click this button. So now I know I'm on the shape tool because now it's got the dark gray around the button. And I'm going to do sort of the same thing. Let's even do, oops, the color blue and the stroke red and create the same one. And now I'm going to click on the selection tool, double click this so I choose the fill and the stroke, drag it over this just like I did before, and if I drag it away, see the same sort of two circles or two ovals. But now after I drag it on, I'm going to click away from it. Once I click away from it, because these are shapes, they actually cut into each other. And let me undo that. Let me double click on it and drag it away. So they cut into each other. So objects do not cut into each other, but you can arrange them in the stack forward and back. Shapes, because they cut into each other, there is no, if I click away, there is no modify, arrange, bring forward, bring back, because they blend together. Oops. And see, now I can't even choose the whole piece of stroke because it ends over there. In fact, I can choose that and move it away, and then that puts the stroke over there. I could have did that over here too. I just didn't. If I want to add the stroke back to that, remember we got this tool called the ink bottle tool underneath the paint bucket. And as long as my stroke is set to that same color red, if I click along the edge, it'll add the stroke. Pretty cool. Notice that this is blue, this is red, this is yellow. If I draw another oval that's the same exact color as this blue, instead of cutting into it, they actually merge together. So let's go to oval. It's on shape. The fill is still blue. It's got a stroke of red. Let's take that stroke off. So no stroke on this one. And I draw this. And then I click here and put them together. If I don't click away, they don't merge. They don't cut each other. They don't merge. But if I put them together and then I click away, now it's one shape. I got a big fat T basically, right? Okay. And of course, if I want to make it an object, I can click the object button, and now it's an object. And then of course I can go back to break apart, and then it's back to being a shape. So let's do something that would be kind of cool. I don't want to, I guess I could delete these. Let's just move them over. So now I'm going to draw a rectangle. Hold this down, the rectangle tool. I want a stroke. Let's put it back to red and the blue inside. That's good. So I'm going to draw this. And then I'm going to draw a circle, sort of like this. So let's go. And just something I thought of before fooling around. Oops, click, hold down, then click the oval tool. And fill and stroke is going to be, keep it that way. I'm going to hold down the shift key and make a circle like this. And then I'm going to hold down, then I'm going to click my selection tool and drag this up. But you know what? I kind of want it in the center. So let me just do it by eye and go up to like here and then let go and then click away. And I really should have double click, go up to here, click away. And now if I drag this out, I have that shape. And if I click here, I can delete that. So I have the shape right here. And now let me click on this and change my fill to, I don't know, like yellow. And then I'm going to click here. This has no more stroke on it. I'm going to create another oval with the fill of yellow but no stroke. And I'm going to do this type of oval, a little thin one. And I'm going to click here. I'm going to move it inside here. Click away. Now I got this shape. Now I'm going to click here and drag it up into that and click away. And so now I'm going to click here, go to modify, transform, free transform. And so you could almost see where I'm going to try and make this in the future. Maybe I could use this to make an animation where this thing rotates back and forth inside of that circle. But it's not really rotating right. And the reason for that is this right here is called the transformation point. I want it to rotate about here, like at the edge of this. So now if I rotate it, you see it stays in there. And if you wanted to kind of show it a little better, maybe I can move this down a little. I can move it with my mouse, or I could use my arrow keys. Probably could have made this a little smaller so you could see that it's fitting inside a circle, but you get the idea. That's more of like an animation thing when we get to that. So there you go. So now what should you do for this assignment? Draw a bunch of objects, put one over the other, see how that works. Draw some shapes, cut pieces out, draw another shape, and maybe make some weird shape by merging a bunch of shapes together. And then if you can have one thing fit in another like that, so you can see, yeah, this is going to become an animation, that would be an awesome thing. When you're all done, File,